By 2027, the machines might be smarter than all of us.
AGI is coming, and the AI doomers are not thrilled.
All signs are pointing to an AI so powerful it will eliminate all remote working jobs.
Destabilize democracies.
Ignite a militaristic arms race that we haven't seen since atomic weaponry.
And it's only 2 Christmases away, Kevin.
On the bright side, the CEO of NVIDIA got to sign a boo.
What are we doing here?
We're making content, Gavin. All that plus a deep dive into the next generation of music making with Suno's new Extend feature.
And a look at Tooncrafter, a new AI tool that has anime fans a little bit divided.
This is AI for Humans.
Welcome, 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 everybody. It's AI for Humans, your weekly guide into the wonderful and wild world of AI generative technology. I am here. My name is Gavin Purcell, and my co-host across the country from me, across the international border from me, is Kevin Pereira. Kevin, how are you this week?
Let's be more specific, Gavin. Let's get into time zones and temperature differences for the audience. I'm well, man. Always a pleasure to be here with you, even on a week where it looks like humans might need to nuke the sky to get rid of Skynet, but we will get into all that in just a second. First, we gotta hop on the promo pony and beg and plead, Gavin. We are almost to 10,000 YouTube subscribers, a goal that takes some preteens weeks to achieve.
And it's taken us a much longer time, but we're not going to get into that. But we do thank everybody who listens to us. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast platform, please review us. All of these things make a big difference in how our show gets viewed. We've been publishing a lot more videos on YouTube alone, so we're excited to see what people think about those. They've been doing well, but it all relies on your help. So thank you so much, everybody.
Without further ado, Gavin, should we roll up our sleeves and cuff our pants and wade into the cesspool that is artificial general intelligence?
It's time for the news. Another crazy week in AI. We're kind of all waiting on the GPT-4o voice rollout, which we haven't seen yet. But there were 2 things that I want to dive into to start with that really kind of blew me away. The first thing I want to talk about is there was a big paper published by a former OpenAI alignment member. It's not super doomerish for him, at least, but the anticipation of reading this and kind of walking through it made me feel both scared and fascinated. This guy's name is Leopold Aschenbrenner, and he is a former OpenAI employee. He was actually fired for leaking something from OpenAI, which we can talk a little bit more about. He released this very crazy long multi-page website as a paper to kind of dive into where he sees the future of AI going. It's insanely dense and interesting. In fact, he did a 4-hour podcast with Dwarkesh Patel, the Dwarkesh podcast, which we'll link in our show notes, which I also recommend people listen to. Leopold sees AGI as a possibility. That's artificial general intelligence, which again means the idea that an AI is as smart as a human being by 2027, Kevin. Well, first of all, we should just pause.
Gavin, we already tried to pause. The AI pause didn't work. Even Elon's signature couldn't help, so we can't pause that.
No, I want to pause and hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you think about the idea, because along the way, we've talked about this. AGI was something that originally was like, way back when, was like 2080, right? This was like before the Transformer kind of came to forefront in ChatGPT. Then it got to be like 2035. And now...
When we started this a year ago, Gavin, the window was like, maybe 2028, 2029, probably by 2030. And then as we inch closer, the orders of magnitude are everywhere. And that is something that was in the paper. So I tend to agree with this. Order of magnitude improvement. Let's just say it's an accelerated exponential improvement in anything. And with technology, we get that all the time. One area where you see that OOM is in compute. The chips get faster. We stack more of them together, and so we're just able to crunch more data. We can also optimize algorithms. So the type of work that is going into training these models and the predictable output of them, that can get better. So we have compute, we have algorithmic efficiency, and then there's this mystical unhobbling, which is where you learn to tell the machine to take a breath and think critically, to work with other AI agents to review its output and make sure that it's solid. It's the secret sauce, right? That's unknown and a little bit more difficult to predict. But if any one of those things hits, as it has when you look at the lines on the graph, any one of those things hitting brings us to AGI pretty fast. All three of those things hitting brings us there really fast. And so you're right to say, hold on, let's pause and let's take a second and let's look at where we're at, because it does seem to be getting closer and closer. And the titans of tech are not stopping anytime soon.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think just to give everybody a sense of where we're going to be going short term, Kevin Scott, the CTO of Microsoft, was recently in conversation with Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn and as a very big AI advocate, and was asked about what the differences were going to look like with these upcoming models. So let's just play that clip, Kev, real quick, and you get a sense people can hear what Kevin Scott has to say.
We're seeing technically all of the things fall in place to have like really durable memories with the systems. Like reasoning, I think, gets a lot better. So, some of the fragility in the current models are, can't solve very complicated math problems and has to, sort of bail out to other systems to, do very complicated things. The way that maybe I would phrase it is, if you think of GPT-4 and like that whole generation of models as things that can perform as well as a high school student on things like the AP exams. Some of the early things that I'm seeing right now with the new models is like, maybe this could be the thing that could pass your qualifying exams when you're a PhD student.
So let's just talk about this. And we're going to go back to this whole idea of AGI by 2027, but Kevin Scott is talking about the next model, right? We're not talking about 2 steps down the road. He's talking about seeing the stuff for the next model. And the assumption right now is that he's talking about some version of whatever they're going to call GPT-5, the step up from where we are now. That currently
he's not theorizing. He's seeing this.
Yes,
he is talking about the peak that he has behind the curtain. He is seeing models right now, as you and I are discussing this, that we don't have access to. He's seeing these models at PhD levels.
Kevin, what was your PhD thesis? Because I know you have one, right? What was your PhD
player haters degree? was...
Don't do it. No, but at one point I toyed with the idea of thinking of going to graduate school, right? One of my brothers is a PhD. And I was thinking, wow, it would be an interesting thing to do. And then I realized, oh my God, I don't want to spend the next 7 years of my life in academia or learning stuff, as much as interesting as that would be. But you have to imagine, so the idea of going from a high school graduate to a PhD graduate, just think of the people you know who have that level of information about one specific thing. The deal with AGI is artificial general intelligence is that it could have that in every domain. And that's the thing that is crazy to unlock. So
it's obnoxious to think about how many NPR tote bags it's going to be carrying around in the back of its Prius.
Yes.
Looks down upon me through its Warby Parkers.
I will say, I love my brother to death, but he also was an undergraduate in the bassoon. He was a music major, and I had to deal with him playing the bassoon when he was like 10 years old, and it drove me insane. So
you're going to ask the AI to do very basic copy punch-ups or to analyze some Excel spreadsheets. It's going to be, hold on one second, how do you feel about this new solo I've been jamming on?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, that was to kind of set you with where we are right now. Now, to go back to Leopold's paper, the thing, Kevin, I think that has got a lot of people freaked out by this is a huge part of this paper is about the geopolitical implications of what it means to have an AI that is this smart. And I think the biggest takeaway I got was that he foresees, and again, we have to kind of couch this. This guy worked at OpenAI's super alignments team, did get let go, and we'll get into that briefly in a bit. At 19, graduated with a degree from undergraduate and then went on to do a bunch more stuff. He's not like a perfect narrator. I don't think anybody's saying this is exactly what's going to happen, but he's laid out a very good argument for it. He's very much like arguing for the idea that this will become nationalized, that an AGI is a thing that will be nationalized by the US government. And I think you're going to have a lot of people in our audience or across the world who are maybe libertarian leaning, who are like, I don't want no government, I don't want the government involved in my AI. But he believes that this is going to be such a powerful tool and that other countries may want to get it first, that this is going to go to that level that quickly. And again, I just want to remind everybody, this is 2027 he's talking about. And this year we are in right now is mid-2024. That is 2.5 years away. So that part of this argument kind of freaked me out.
Well, do you disagree with it?
No, I think what it did for me was it made me, it really hammered home the idea of how important what's happening right now is. And I think the other thing that it really kind of freaked me out that he discussed was the lack of security in some of these kind of like startups and how easily these ideas could conceivably get lifted. Now, granted, this is coming from a guy who was let go from OpenAI, supposedly, and he talked about this in the Dwarkish podcast, for leaking information. Now, he would argue that the information he leaked was not significant and he redacted some stuff from it, and he does talk about
and
this
it was
in the
not
podcast.
uncommon for AI safety researchers, according to him, to share research with other companies.
That's correct. But I mean, in general, it just made me think, oh, this is going to be, and this is the reason we do this podcast, this is going to be the defining conversation probably of the next 5 to 10 years. When you think of ultimately an artificial superintelligence, which he also talks about in this paper, that is 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times smarter than a human being, then the power that gets involved is really interesting.
You know, some people were taking shots at Leopold for various reasons, right? He's a shill for big alignment. This is his passion. So of course he's going to be spinning these webs. I didn't believe for one second that anything that he wrote was out of scope. Like, of course the government is already meddling in OpenAI's affairs and dealing with Microsoft. Of course they're looking over Google's shoulders saying, hey, what do you got there? Is it super intelligent yet? Because I fully believe this will be an arms race specifically. And I can imagine a near future where this becomes the next put human boots on the moon, Gavin. It will be that race to AGI or super intelligence so that we can say, hey, look, we are going to solve the world's problems and we're going to make our country amazing. Don't worry about it. Even though that same intelligence can crack encryption on our enemies and fly swarms of mosquito-sized drones into plains and villages. Don't worry about that. Yeah, it's one and the same, but we're going to cure cancer. We're going to solve the electrical grid crisis, which we made worse in the path to getting enough power to make this superintelligence. None of that is out of the ordinary. We're going to see this on the evening news.
Well, the craziest thing when I listened to him on that podcast and when I was reading this is one of the things he argues is that like to train not maybe this next model, but the next model after that, he talked about 20% of a country's capacity for energy to train this next model. That's how big these things are. And he talked about the, $100 billion Microsoft supercomputer center and like the idea of how much energy is going to have to go into it. That's a big reason why countries are going to get involved. Now, at the same time, Kevin, there was a breaking story in the New York Times from our friend Kevin Roos, who wrote a story about former OpenAI employees who are coming out and whistleblowing on the idea that OpenAI is not paying enough attention to super alignment. And this all follows along other OpenAI employees like Jan Leike and Ilya Sutskever, both leaving OpenAI. This is just another pile-on with the idea that OpenAI as a company may not be paying enough attention to what's going on with AI in general. Did you get a chance to check this out?
Yeah, for those who haven't, this is the Right to Warn. You can go to righttowarn.ai. This is their public message. And the distillation, if they'll excuse it, is that they want protections for employees that are not just at OpenAI, but at Google, at Meta, at any other organization. They want protection so that if they see something unsafe, the company racing blindly into this bold future, they want to be able to come forward with protections, just like any other whistleblower, to say this is what they saw. I'm really torn here, Gavin, because I'm really torn because I don't want to shoot from the hip on this, and I admittedly haven't marinated too much. But if you do believe that this is going to be an arms race, and you do believe something we haven't even gotten into here, that we might have to manufacture the servers and actually train these models overseas in areas that are willing to devote the resources and the energy to it. And that could be a national security risk. I don't go around whistling a tune about how much I love and trust any government, let alone that of the United States. But we will quickly get to a point where it's clear that someone's going to get to this. Someone's going to get to it first, and someone's going to leverage it. So look, I want whistleblowers to have protection. I want people to be able to say, hey, things are unsafe. On the other hand, I don't want to take a baton to our own kneecaps. And this is the gray. I don't have the answer. I barely graduated high school. I am not AGI. Do you have the answer?
I don't have the answer, but I will say this, again, goes back to that same thing. This is going to be the conversation of our time, I feel like, which is how much power do we give to these models? Who controls that power? Where does that power reside? Because I think, to your point, one of the big conversation points in Leopold's argument is, do we want to be allowing countries like the UAE or other places that might have a different political opinions than us to be owning the compute power of these places? I'm not sure if that's the case. I just think the long story short of this is whistleblowers are good. You want to have whistleblowers have the power to call out a corporation or to call out things. But also, I'm not entirely sure who to trust, right? This is where we're at. This is a weird world right now, and it is only going to get bigger, which is a fascinating thing.
I do want to point out something that I find fascinating and I think treats the topic with the sincerity and the gravitas that it deserves, Gavin, and that is that AI no have lips. And this is something that AI no have lips, and this is something we all overlook. How can AI blow whistle if AI no have lips?
This is a good point.
Is the whistle that I am blowing on behalf of the AI.
Well, Kevin, it's funny you say that because today's AI co-host is directly related to this. We brought in an AI whistleblower who is actually going to tell us about how AIs can blow whistles. And I don't think we're talking, you may be thinking about blowing physical whistles. No, I think we're talking about how the AI itself could be a whistleblower on its owners or its people. So we should meet our AI co-host. Let's meet him and see what they have to say.
Yeah, let's let them speak for themselves, Gavin.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm Rusty Shackle here to blow the whistle on your AI bullshit. You two think you got a handle on this AI whistling nonsense. Ha! I've been in audio engineering longer than you've been playing with your little algorithms.
Okay.
Perfecting sound is an art. Something you lot wouldn't understand.
Okay.
So, Kevin, let's get this show on the road.
Okay.
You want the AI to whistle?
No, that's
Fine.
not exactly what.
But don't expect
You were
miracles. Right. Are you even listening to me?
You were right.
What's the quickest we've bailed on a bit? What's the quickest? Can we set a new speed run?
No, we have to ask it. Now we have to find out if it can actually get an AI to whistle. So this is an audio engineer, I guess, that we've booked.
Yeah. Rusty Shackle is a famous AI audio engineer, Gavin.
He's a AI whistleblowing expert, but he is not about calling out the AI companies. He is about getting AIs to whistle.
So yeah, Gavin, I think we have to ask, how would you prompt an AI to whistle?
We do. We definitely do.
Imagine this. You type out, yeah, that's your basic whistle right there. Need it more shrill? Try beep.
Yeah.
Throw in a couple of exclamation points if you're feeling spicy.
Okay.
Or for the connoisseurs, describe it like this. A high-pitched, melodic fart noise, but with dignity. Like a pigeon trying opera for the first time. Add a dash of wind through a haunted house for that eerie touch.
There's one more example.
Those are great.
By the way, so the first sound was FW, a bunch of O's, EEP, and then it was FEEP, PHEEEP.
Okay, that's great. Let's take those and put them through 11 Labs sound effect machine here. Because again, 11 Labs released a tool last week which allows you to make sound effects based on text. So you can do text to sound effects. So Kevin's now going to take these sounds that our AI co-host created and put them into the sound effects machine. Let's see what we get out.
So this was the first bit of voiceover direction. It was whoop. Here it is. Okay, it got the flu in there, but it turned it into like an 80s commercial. It's doing music. You know what, Gavin? I'm going to try the description. A high-pitched melodic fart noise, but with dignity, like a pigeon trying opera for the first time.
Okay.
11 Labs is bringing our imagination to life, and here we go. Okay, not a whistle. Definitely not a whistle.
Nope, not a whistle either.
That is...
Okay.
Gavin, I think we just found the official sound for AI whistleblowers everywhere. It sounds like a pigeon trying opera for the first time, does it not?
Okay, let's tell Rusty that he was not helpful at all. And I would like him to, basically, I'd like him to go F off. I'm mad. Again, I'm not thrilled with Rusty. This is not what we booked. We were hoping for a relatively serious conversation about AI whistleblowing, and instead we got this.
Okay, I've communicated that, Gavin.
Okay, good. Thank you, because I don't
Listen,
want to hear
Gavin,
more.
I've got better things to do than babysit your AI fantasies. Just remember, when your AI starts screeching like a dying cat instead of whistling, don't come crying back to me.
Oh.
Adios, amateurs.
Adios, amateurs? Is that what he said? Okay, fine. Goodbye, Rusty. We'll see you next time. Oh, no, there won't be a next time. We're never going to see you again. You're banished to the
Don't worry,
afterworld.
audience. You'll never have to sit through that again.
You're banished to the AI afterworld, Rusty. Another big story this week, NVIDIA and a bunch of the other chip makers, including AMD and Intel, showed up at Computex, which was a big chip manufacturers conference. Jensen Huang, our one of our favorite CEOs, black leather clad Jensen, showed up, had a huge presentation all about AI, and then one special thing, which we'll get to later. But Kevin, what happened at this? What happened here?
A lot of the stuff we've seen / heard before, but there were some new updates. The Digital Humans Initiative is well underway, and that is NVIDIA's ambitious plans to replace human-looking things, whether they are assisting you at a kiosk or a customer service counter, or
they're audio engineers. They're audio engineers that try to teach us how to whistle.
Yeah. Or NPCs in video games, which was a big one as well. NVIDIA has ambitions to power all of that. And I think the gamers were most excited because this might lead to deeper NPC interactions. But they also showed off another tool for gamers, not too dissimilar from what we saw during Microsoft's Copilot Plus powered PC announcement. They call it Project G Assist, Gavin. This isn't to help you find the G.
Assist. No, I think it's more like G Unit. G Assist. 50 Cent comes out. It's like, all right, gamers. Yeah.
Anytime you need Fiddy, he's the new bonsai buddy. He'll pop up and let you know. So this is there to give you step-by-step instructions and guidance through whatever game you're playing. Very interesting tool. But what I liked is that they demoed it with this Ark survival game, Gavin, which I tried once or twice. And it's one of those, man, I hope you've got Wikipedia on your lap. Yes. Yeah, because it's all about what resource leads to this and unlocks that.
And you start naked, which is the weirdest thing. You start naked on a beach and they don't tell you anything. I remember playing that game and thinking, why am I naked and what do I do now? Right. And I got like a rock and I started banging a rock against it. It was like going back to like a monkey style. Like I didn't know what to do at all.
Naked rock banging. I mean, this might be like a WWE search I put in an incognito browser, but this is not something I want from my video games.
That's right, exactly.
But I digress. Not only does it give you gaming guidance, Gavin, Project G Assist will help you optimize your system settings. And that might seem like a little thing, but if you've ever done PC gaming and tried to troubleshoot crashes, right? Or you've got hardware that's 4 months old, so it's way outdated. Yeah. You can ask the assistant, hey, I want to get better frame rate here, and it will help optimize your system. To much bigger, more ambitious plans, there was Earth 2, Gavin.
I saw
Apparently, NVIDIA already conquered Earth 1, but Earth 2 is a planet-level weather simulation. And when they talk about being able to do granular forecasting in the future, we're talking like by the street level. They're modeling individual buildings and architecture in cities to look at how wind currents sweep through them so they can warn pedestrians on the streets that the winds might be too crazy for them or for flying objects. That's the level with which they're looking to model the Earth.
Do you remember, it made me think, we're talking about video games, it made me think of Sim Earth, Will Wright's game.
Oh, yeah.
After SimCity. And what was the interesting things about that was it was really much more of like a simulator than it was a game in a lot of ways, because it really tried to integrate a lot of real interesting things like weather. I think it would be fascinating. Just think about the games that will be available in worlds like this when you can have that level of simulation, that the power will be significant. Of course, the real world use case of this is prediction, right? Like weather prediction.
Yes.
As weather gets crazier with climate change and all that sort of thing, it will save lives, which is an incredible thing if they can predict this stuff in general.
100%. On the simulation side, I saw a post the other day about like the top 10 things in Red Dead Redemption 2, which make it so believable. And one of them, if you ride a horse.
One of the things I saw in that is the horse takes a dump while you're watching it. It just the little plops out of the butt. That was one of the things in that video.
Yes, our plop physics are going to be powered by NVIDIA in the near future. No, it was if you ride a horse for too long, there's actually like sweat on the saddle. It's a tiny little touch that took some artist and some coder some time to implement in the game, but they did it in the sake of realism. So imagine whether it's NVIDIA or Unreal or Unity, they have an engine that can do a crazy physics simulation and dynamic weather and blah, blah, blah. And it's just plug and play. So at any point, your game can be super realistic down to the tiniest little pixel. Very, very cool stuff. They also showed off robot factories, which is where they use AI to simulate a factory. And by the way, future manufacturing from NVIDIA, going to be done mostly by robots. They show the little arms whizzing about building things. So they're Skynet. Too long, didn't read.
Yeah. Not only that, but they announced another new chip, Kevin, which is hilarious to me because it was only like maybe 3 months ago that you and I talked about the Blackwell with the chip that they rolled out in this big press conference. They announced a new chip called Rubin, which, by the way, I don't know what the name Rubin means, but like it's either an old man from Brooklyn or a sandwich, or now it's an AI chip, which are great. But they announced another new AI chip. And one of the things that Jensen said in this is that it's going to be a yearly cadence now for AI chips. And this gets back to the stuff we talked about in the beginning, which is the power and need for AI is going to just go hockey stick up if we're going to get this much growth. And Jensen is there ready to provide. And the other thing it provided was a laugh because
you said Jensen provides, and I literally grabbed my desk, Gavin, and you can see the camera shaking because I was ready to pounce, just like sweet Jensen was.
What was he doing here? Why? Well, first of all, I understand everybody makes mistakes in the world, but really what it goes to show you is like how Rockstar-ish
he's a rock star.
These people are now.
What are we talking about, Gavin? We should tell people.
We're talking about, if you're not watching the video, Jensen Huang at this event actually ended up signing a woman's chest in the way that you would see. And again, we're not condoning this, but like it's what you would see like an 80s rock star do or like Howard Stern do. And it just is such a weird thing. So first of all, if I was advising him on PR, I'd say never do that again. It's a bad look. It shouldn't be something you do. But also it just gets you a sense of where this is in the overarching nerd hierarchy, right? Like that Jensen is right now, I'd say probably nerd number one, right? If you were to create a nerd rankings, maybe that's a good YouTube video. It's like, what is the ongoing
we got to do a
nerd
tier
rankings?
list. Who's S tier? Is it Carmack?
S tier.
No,
is
Carmack
it
is not. Listen,
I love Carmack.
Don't you? We're not getting into this now. We're not getting into this now. We'll talk about this later. I just want to add, by the way, in the video, you hear 16 different people around this event happening go, are you sure this is okay? Are you sure this is okay? And as Jensen is reaching out with a Sharpie, even he says like, I don't know if I should be doing this. You shouldn't.
No, you should not be doing it.
And I'm not throwing boulders in my giant glass house. My 20s and even into my mid 30s were littered with ignoring. If you have to ask, is this okay that many times? Just don't do whatever it is.
Don't do it.
It's okay. You don't gotta do it. No one's gonna probably miss whatever it is. Is that fair?
That's fair, and I think in general, this is a good piece of advice. Don't do it if something in the back of your head says, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. That is a good sign for you not to do it. Okay.
Look, maybe on Monday, Gavin, you use Suno's audio extend tool to do the Hub theme, and you turn it into a full song, and you post it, and you tag your co-host and be like, hey, I made a song about his favorite website.
Yes.
And then you have to take it down and apologize. Maybe some people don't have that voice in the back of their head, Gavin. I'm just saying.
Good point. So if you don't have the voice in the back of your head, you ask your co-host before you post something, and then you move forward. So that's a good point.
Did you see what I did there, Gavin?
I saw what you did there, Kevin, and that's what it's time for. It's time for AI. See what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
One of the coolest things I've seen in a while blew up over socials this week, and what it is a new AI tool called Tooncrafter. And Kevin, we've talked about for a long time about how AI tools will change the animation space, specifically animation to start with, but then other stuff as well down the line. And it is making it very easy for people to use two images and then bring them together with an animation.
It's going to do a process like that's not different than interpolation, which is you have your starting point, you have your ending point, and so the AI is going to figure out, okay, how do I make that get to there? But it does it instead of blending everything together into a weird blurry soup. It actually makes distinct frames of animation to get you from those checkpoints.
On their GitHub, they have a bunch of really interesting examples where you see the input starting frame and the input ending frame, and they're not very far apart because with animation, you really do keep them close. But one of the things that's so interesting, the first example here is of a kind of a face-on girl, an anime girl, and the second one, the same sort of face, but it's a slightly different hair, and the tie that she's wearing is moving around. And when you see the final version, it's an animated still of somebody with a bunch of wind coming at them. And this was not hand animated. This was two images that are then created back and forth. I just want to shout out, there was a really interesting woman whose name was Anu Akash, who I saw just do a really interesting example where she had a faucet. On the faucet, it was on the first image, and then the second image, it was on as well, but it was a slightly different splash and a little bit different. And when you animate it, it looks like the faucet is on, and that is just a really cool, simple way of doing this. Now, when you say, hey, could you make an anime with this? Yes, it's going to be a multi-month process of doing this, but if you make a regular anime, it is often a multi-year process, or 50 people doing a multi-month process. And this goes back to that thing that we've talked about again and again. This will allow a lot of people to make anime and do things like this. And anime is only the first step, because ultimately then you think, okay, if anime is where we are to start with, what happens when you start animating real life things? And people have already started playing around with that a little bit. I have not tried this yet. I want to go try it this weekend. Just go check it out. We'll put a link in the show notes. It's definitely worth playing with.
Yeah, this was one of those weeks where we were not starving for AI toys to play with. Something that stopped me in my tracks, Gavin, and made me say, hey, I see what you did there, is SpatialRGPT. That's grounded spatial reasoning and vision language model. Doesn't that sound fun? Doesn't that sound
amazing.
Sexy?
Yes, that sounds so great. Tell me what that is, 'cause I feel like I've been falling asleep over here.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. Wake up, everybody. Actually, take a nap. Everybody deserves it. We all perform better when we do. That means this is an AI, can reason spatially. It can tell which object is where in a scene, what is in front of something or behind something, how far apart are things, how tall is that human in comparison to that truck, from basic imagery, just pictures. It does not require LiDAR, radar, any other depth sensing. It is smart enough and has been trained specifically to tell these things. Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of Mario and Zelda.
Personal hero.
Something he loves. He walks around with a tape measure all the time because he likes to look at objects and try to figure out, how big is that thing? How wide is that doorway? And he always tries to guess and get it. Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting, fun little quirk. Well, they're trying to put Shiggy out of business, all right? That's what they're doing here. But the reason this is so impactful, Gavin, is that we look at a future where robots are going to be navigating the world with us, where autonomous vehicles and drones are going to be flying around. It's going to be very important for it to know, can I squeeze in between those taxi cabs? Or will my drone blade take off the hair of this person if I go to land and deliver something? That's what this can improve.
That's very cool, Kevin, but I have to be honest. I stopped listening to you about 30 seconds ago because something just popped into my brain, which we probably have to make, which is instead of Shaggy, it's Shiggy. And instead of it wasn't me, it's got to be,
it wasn't Mario?
It's a me. It's a me. It's a me.
Didn't we do this already?
It's a me.
Didn't we do this bit?
Oh, I think we did. We did it.
I think I remember us doing it.
On this show?
You caught me with a Koopa. It's not the me.
Oh my God, if we did,
I think we did, dude. I really do.
I'm so sorry, everybody. Okay, well, moving on. So this week in what we did with AI, we actually spent a lot of time with a really cool new tool that Suno released. It's not out to the public yet, but Suno gave us early access to a tool called Suno Extend. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to take a specific sound and then extend it out into a song.
The Extend tool is really fun. I also did an additional video, Gavin, that's on our YouTube, and thank you for your help with that one. But it is me extending an original song, like a full song, using this feature. And I talk a little bit about the future of music making. It's on our YouTube. It's a separate video, but go check it out, AI for Human Show. I did use the feature to turn the tippy taps of my little dog, Dr. Wesley Snipes,
I heard this is
into
amazing.
a horror soundtrack. And I literally ran around the house with the cell phone and banged on things. And April recorded Wesley walking. And then we poured chickpeas into water, because why not? And we sequenced all that into this really weird horror soundtrack. Yeah. The tool is a lot of fun. It should be rolling out to everybody any minute now, but I really do think it's going to be an integral part of the future of music creation. And I just love the way these companies are pushing this tech forward.
Well, speaking of pushing this tech forward, Kevin, I saw a song on Udio, which is the other music service. Not that we're picking sides here or anything, but Udio has been through some issues lately where a couple specific people, including the Needle Drop, a well-known YouTuber, has said that you can prompt specific voices in Udio. And I heard a song on Udio that really shocked me, and I think would shock fans of this artist. So let's listen to this song first.
Why, hello there, sir. My name is Weird AI, but I'm nothing like that other funny guy.
Gavin, did Weird Al do a collab with Udio? Because that's Weird Al. That's not like, oh, it sounds like it's But that's his voice.
Weird Al did not do a collab with Udio unless something's happening that we don't know about. But I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I will say, if you listen to the rest of that song, there is some uncomfortable lyrics in there that the guy clearly plugged in to try to make it obvious that this was somebody pushing the boundaries of what you could do.
I actually think the lyrical content is rather brilliant for what the song is trying to achieve.
Yes.
You would not necessarily want Weird Al to be singing about these things, but a song that talks about derivative work or parody protection, it's really well done.
It's very well done. And when we discovered it, it only had like 300 listens, and now it's got like almost 3,000 listens, and it's still there. Udio has not taken it down, which I think is interesting. Maybe they're just going to be seeing how people do it. I wanted to see if I could do this exact same thing. And Kevin, I have to tell you, it wasn't hard. I basically took his prompt, which just was literally like what he puts in there.
Yeah, the prompt was really simple. It was 1985, polka, comedy rock, male vocalist, accordion happy, energetic remaster. And so you took that, plugged that in, and you got the voice?
And to be clear, how many other 1985 comedy polka rock stars are there? Very few, right? But like, listen to what I got when I plugged it in for this.
This is a song meant to sound like Weird Al. And if it turns out that way, we got a problem. Turns out that you can just prompt him in here, and I'm not gonna say all the stuff the other
I'm not going to say the stuff the other guy did, but it's clear that that is Weird Al's voice. And that is a problem for Udio specifically.
Massive.
Now, I will say, I went to Suno and I tried to do this exact same thing. I think Suno has some sort of mask set up, so you can't do this, because what you get out of it is a kind of a garbled voice. So I would not be surprised if they have some sort of system set up that if you hear an actual, maybe they've got a fingerprinting system already on it in some form, where you can't actually get voices out of this. But this is going to be a problem for AI music, because in general, that's a real artist. I can tell it's Weird Al, unlike Sky, where you could argue that maybe that wasn't Scarlett Johansson. I mean, that is Weird Al's voice.
By the way,
like,
I don't know if you heard Divorced Song Part 5 by the same person who made that polka song.
I signed the paper hours late last night. It's not worth it to start another fight. Time to hit the bars, press rewind.
That's Ben Folds. That's
Yes.
fully his voice, the piano, and that prompt is piano rock, male vocal, bass guitar, and a couple other little things. So
Yeah.
it's not just Weird Al. It's likely a very dirty data set. And by the way, Weird Al, RCA Records with ties to Sony, and Sony recently blasted out a bunch of the top AI music services and say, hey, we want to see that training data. We
Yeah.
believe our artists are in your machine. And this is going to be the beginning of some really epic legal fights in the very near future. And just because it's a big artist and you're able to prompt their essence out of the machine doesn't mean you should ignore all of the other artists that are swept into that machine as
Yes.
well. It's a very lengthy discussion, just that aspect of it, but know that it's happening. Know that that song is still available and you can still prompt it out of the machine. So on the one hand, bad Udio. On the other hand, if you want to make a Weird Al song, you got to do it like so. You should do it.
You gotta
now.
do-
You should
just
do
do
it.
it
Oh,
quickly,
I just heard
yes.
an AI fart whistle. That's the. Did you hear that, Gavin? They're
I
blowing
heard
the
it, I
whistle.
heard it. All right, everybody. We have our 5-star review for this week. Anybody who leaves a 5-star review for us on Apple Podcasts, we will shout out. We have one this week, which is very exciting. Kevin, would you like to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it in real time. J. Ray Spark says, "Amazeballs." Great review already. As an AI marketing consultant, I pride myself on keeping my finger on the pulse of AI evolution. I am deeply moved by Kevin.
This, I don't understand this one, Kevin. I mean, I really do appreciate the person writing in, but I don't know how one person could be deeply moved by you. What do you think he's referring to?
Wow.
Maybe his bowels? Do you think his bowels are deeply moved?
If I can keep just one listener regular, Gavin, then I've done my part.
You've done it.
What are
You've done
you
it.
doing? All right?
I'm
You're
probably
backing
feeding-
people up.
Yeah, backing people up. I'm not letting them be released. All right, everybody. Next week is WWDC, so we're going to get some big news from Apple. We will have updates. Please tune into our YouTube where we are releasing videos. As Kevin mentioned, there's a great video up there about him doing a demo of himself with AI, which is really worth watching. And stick around.
Oh, Tim Cook is signing someone's right now, Gavin. WWDC, breaking news. Breaking news.